Two other points that I want to make about why our statements haven't been aired. It really appears that denouncing terrorism, and this is the Islamic viewpoint, does not bring in the ratings that sensationalized stories about radical Islamic militant groups do. You know, when we get up there and denounce these stories, nobody comes. I think when we had one meeting here in town, the only group that showed up was the Spanish paper. So, and we fax these all out. Every time anything happens, we're faxing out Tulsa World to Channel 2, 6, and 8. We're sending out our public relations statements, how we are against these different attacks and things that happen, and they are just not being aired. And of course, advertising dollars are driven by content, and sensational content sells. I find Fox News absolutely amazing. You know, it's been 6 years since September 11th, yet we're still getting these terror alerts. I want to know the person. I want them to interview the person who does these terror alerts. Have you seen that? The yellow, orange, and red levels? And like I traveled during Christmas and it was red, and I was wondering, why is it red? Yeah, how do they know it's red today? Where are these people who are doing these things? Okay, Muslim detention. This is the second point that I'd like to talk about. After September 11th, hundreds of Muslims were rounded up across the country. I think this was a very prudent thing to do. Let's round up everybody and see and make sure this is not going to happen again. And they were detained. Many people were taken without their families knowing. Many people were detained for years. And people have been detained without a trial. Out of the hundreds of people that have been detained, only one has had a trial and been convicted, and that was, I always mess up his name, it was Moussaoui, you know, the guy that was connected to the hijackers. Okay, there was another guy, I'll just share a couple stories with you. His name, he goes by two different names, either Jose Padilla or Jose Padilla. He's an American convert. He went over to Egypt. He came back on his way back through Homeland Security. He was detained, this was in 2001. He is still detained to this day and has been through extreme torture and mental trauma that he's no longer there mentally. He's gone. They never filed any charges against him. They still haven't had a trial for him. And he just got lawyers last year, and he doesn't even believe that they're his lawyers. He thinks that they're interrogators. So the lawyers can't even have a relationship with them because his brain's gone. He's been tortured so much. In Guantanamo Bay, we had hundreds of people rounded up from around the world and flown in. The American Red Cross has some great stories on their website about the torture and inhumane treatment of these people. We have yet to find evidence and convict one of these people. They've also violated the Geneva Convention or Court, for humane treatment of prisoners. This is a serious risk to our own soldiers out in the field, because when we break this, this allows other countries to mistreat our soldiers when they are captured too, and I think that's a concern. Anyway, at Guantanamo Bay, they had one guy that had his back broken and is now in a wheelchair from the waist down. His back was broken. Another guy's lost his leg. Of course, we know about multiple suicide attempts and some actual suicides that were successful. Okay, so my point is, we've only convicted one person out of the hundreds that have been rounded up. And I think, of course, this is a real blessing for all of us, because we know that there aren't a lot of terrorists here in the United States because we're not finding them. And I don't want you to think that Homeland Security and the FBI is not on top of it, because they are. Our phones are bugged, our mail is searched, and our finances are closely watched. I had a friend who this summer, she went over to Turkey, and her husband had to send her money every month, to pay for rent. She was studying over there with her kids for 3 months, and had to send her money for rent and food and stuff. And when she came back in, Homeland Security detained her and the family and wanted to know about every single payment that was sent over there, what it was used for. And so they are watching every dollar that we spend. I've had other people who have transferred money and accidentally had the bank here in Tulsa send them a letter that was supposed to go to Homeland Security, but it went to them. So they know they're being watched. One thing that is concerning, so I just want you to know the government's on top of it. They're watching all of us. But one thing that is concerning, the point that I want to make is this eternal detainment that's being allowed without due process of law, including American citizens. And that's what really has me concerned. I mean, I feel like I'm in some scary movie or something. We had another guy, is a scholar by the name of Anwar Awlaki, who's born in New Mexico. He is a U.S. citizen. He had a large following here in the United States, very well-educated man, and he went over to Yemen, and the government has really gone after Muslim, like what you call priests. And they took away his citizenship, and he's not allowed back into the United States. So we've had that happen. Cat Stevens, who's now Yusuf Islam, you know, the guy from the 1970s, he's tried to come over here, and our government will not allow him in without reason. They don't provide any evidence or reason. Another thing that does have me concerned, that should have you concerned, because you all are next. I mean, we're only going to be hated for a certain amount of time, and then it's going to be the next group. You know, we want Japanese and American Indians and Russians, and right now it's Muslims. But all of the Muslim charities, there were about 30 of them that had been in existence. Some of them had been around the United States for over 25 years. All of the Muslim charities since 9/11 have been closed down, except for 2 by my accounts. And this concerns me. There was one that sends money to orphans that I sent my money to, and it was up north. I can't remember which city it was in. But the U.S. government came in, they seized the charity under the Homeland Security Act, closed it down, which is what they've done to many of the charities. They seized them, seized the funds, closed it down, and so a delegation of Muslims from this charity and from Islamic organizations like CAIR, Council of American Islamic Relations, went to Washington, met with senators, met with Homeland Security, and the response we get for this is that we don't have to provide you any evidence, we're just closing it down. And that's the response we're getting. And these are legitimate charities, by my knowledge, that want to reopen, but we can't get any answers from anybody. And I have several other stories with local doctors and people contributing and visits by the FBI and stuff like that. But what I'm more concerned about is, right for a couple years after 9/11, we were okay. I mean, we were going out, doing our public relations work, and dealing with the after effects. Well, we were also sympathizing and shocked. But in the last 2 years, the media has really vehemently attacked Muslims. And what they're now doing is they're taking all mainstream Muslims and saying that they're fanatics and that we're all evil, and creating a spirit that we have some secret agenda to Islamicize the world or take over, and this is simply not true. So this kind of, I call it divisive reporting, is very damaging for us. It divides our communities, it creates hate, it creates fear. It's not beneficial, it does a disservice to the American public. Flying as a Muslim is, as I say, a Saturday Night Live sitcom. We are always pulled aside, and rightfully so, because of the hijackers, so we get extra special attention. And I want to share with you a couple of stories. There's so much fear out there. We had 6, I'll share you like 5 stories that happened within the last month, and I'll get to flying here in a second. Muslim lady walking down the street with her baby in California was shot and killed. Muslim man in New York last month was beaten up, racial slurs, he was almost killed. 5 Muslim sheikhs who went to a conference here in the United States, they're all U.S. citizens, made the mistake of praying in the